From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Good morning. I'm Will Jones in for Nick Monticelli. Welcome to Local 4 Live. We're streaming here on Local 4 Plus and YouTube to get you caught up on the big stories of the day and bring you conversations with the people making news. Let's take a look at what we have planned for you today. It's one of Detroit's most historic homes, but you might not know it if you pass it. We're talking about the two-story flat where Rosa Parks lived for decades. Well, the city is trying to change that, and we're chatting with the director of Detroit's Historic Designation Advisory Board. Another piece of history is over on the state's west side. A lighthouse that's over 150 years old is about to crack open the front doors again. Plus, Tigers outfielder Kerry Carpenter is used to the spotlight and cameras at Comerica Park, but now he's got to flex his acting chops. We're talking about him and the team's hot streak at the new Comerica commercial, I should say. He's then in Ann Arbor. The work to clean up a blighted site is about to pay off. The city is putting an opening date on its newest park. Let's start with the weather and the possibility of storms again today. Forewarned meteorologist Ashley Bearsey is here. And it's warm out right now. You're going to be watching for storms.
Right. I mean, at least we don't have the extreme heat. It's hot. It's muggy. Don't get me wrong. But we don't have the extreme heat. However, the front that brought those storms yesterday has kind of parked itself over southeastern Michigan. So that instability and active pattern will be with us once again. We're taking a look at satellite and radar where we do have some of those showers pushing from west Michigan towards our area. And so we will be in and out of some shower chances. I put the frontal boundary on there for you. And those rain chances just right along that. And so if that's not moving much over the next day or two, well, we're going to continuously see some of those shower chances. Now, there is a risk for some of them to be severe today, but mainly south of I-94. And so that marginal level 1 risk that all of southeastern Michigan was under yesterday is now pushed now south of I-94. If you remember, the outlook for today was 696 southward. So they've peeled that back even more, pushing it down closer to the Ohio state line. But as far as the threats on the table, exactly like yesterday, we could see some of those damaging wind gusts around 60 miles per hour and certainly some flash flooding when you get those pockets of heavy downpours in just a short amount of time. We saw that happen along I-75 yesterday. Right now, though, those clouds might not look picturesque, but boy, is that going to help us out with the temperatures. And so we are starting off in the 70s as opposed to the 80s that we had at this hour yesterday. So 72 in the city, 76 in Ann Arbor, 72 in Pontiac, and 77 in Monroe. The other factor that will help us out yesterday and the day before that, and the day before that, we had a southwesterly breeze pumping in the warm air from the south. Well, now those winds have shifted coming out of the north, and so we're not going to have the oppressive heat, though the humidity will still be more on the oppressive side. So it's muggy today, but we only get into the low to mid 80s compared to the mid 90s that we had yesterday, and those storm chances will definitely be more prominent in our southern communities like Monroe and Lenawee County. So we'll walk you through a closer look at that timeline of when those storms potentially develop coming up in a few minutes. But who would have thought about a week or two ago that low to mid 80s we'd be rejoicing, saying that that's a cool down?
I'm one of those folks who like it really hot, so the 90s didn't bother me.
It didn't bother you?
Not at all.
It's not the heat as much as it is the humidity. Yeah. You know, we always talk about the dry heat out in Arizona. Like, that's more tolerable than when you go down in Florida and it's the oppressive, heat. So I can take the hot temperatures. Just can we get a break from the humidity? Yeah. But I mean, you don't have to worry about the humidity as much. Well,
it does impact me because I sweat more. I think you were trying to make a hair joke here. And, I was. And when I shave my head, I sweat more after shaving with the humidity.
Well, you have a nice matte look right now.
Thank
it's
you.
Wonderful.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, in 1 hour, the former Warren police officer charged in a deadly crash last September will be back in court. James Burke is accused of speeding in his patrol car while on duty, crashing into an SUV and killing 2 men. Earlier this week, the attorney representing the victims' families released new video as part of a lawsuit. Burke's hearing is scheduled for 1 o'clock. A state police trooper helped catch a hit-and-run driver who struck a Detroit police officer. This is where the chase ended Monday night near I-75 in Holbrook. State police say one of their bike team troopers leaving Belle Isle witnessed a car hit a Detroit officer who was directing traffic near downtown. Troopers say the driver took off and crashed. We're told he tried to run away, but the troopers caught up with him. We're still waiting on an update on the officer's condition. Neighbors in Springfield Township coming together to stand against a gravel business. We've told you about the levee company trying to get approved for land along Ormond Road. The company wants to mine gravel and other materials on the land. It will be split in 5 phases and take more than 20 years. Last night, people packed a planning commission hearing to make it known they don't want the company to move in, and they are worried about health effects from the mining business.
This pit will be an environmental disaster. It'll be a sound disaster. There's just so many things wrong. There's no benefit to our community.
The silica dust that gets kicked up in the mining process can travel up to 5 miles. It's been measured at unsafe distances up to 5 miles, especially for kids. I got little kids. They are extremely vulnerable to this silica dust, and it causes cancer.
The township has not made a decision to give the levee company the green light or not. Leaders say they want to learn more and plan to hire their own investigators to look into the project. President Donald Trump is in the Netherlands right now for the first full day of the NATO summit. The conflict between Israel and Iran is likely to take center stage as the nations prepare to address defense spending. The ceasefire between Israel and Iran appears to still be in effect. Meantime, an early report claims Iran's nuclear program is delayed and not as destroyed as President Trump has claimed. There is a push to preserve one of Detroit's most historic homes, the 2-story brick flat where Rosa Parks and her husband lived for nearly 3 decades. It sits at the corner of Virginia Park and Wildermere Street in a neighborhood off of West Grand Boulevard, not far from Henry Ford Hospital and the Motown Museum. The house is already on the National Register of Historic Places, but now the city of Detroit is considering a local historic designation. A public hearing is happening tomorrow, and to talk about that, we're joined live by Janice Chapman, the director of Detroit's Historic Designation Advisory Board. Good morning, Janice.
Good morning.
Let's first start with few details about what you do on the advisory board and what the advisory board does overall.
The Historic Designation Advisory Board, we are at a division within the Legislative Policy Division with the Detroit City Council. We are the department that takes and does the local designation for all historic districts here in the city of Detroit, as well as write the ordinance, which is the component that is attached to the designation. That's the regulatory component for those historic districts. I have been doing this for, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead, sorry.
No, that's okay. I've been doing this for over 30 years, and we have over 154 locally designated historic districts in the city of Detroit.
So tell me about Rosa Parks' home.
The Rosa Parks home, as you have already stated, is already on the National Register of Historic Places. The owner of that property, Mr. McGraw, reached out to our office and asked for, he says, well, it's on the National Register. Does it have local recognition? And it did not at the time. And he asked why not, and we said because we never received a request. And he goes, well, I'm the owner, and I'm requesting that you consider it for local designation. So with the local designation, a citizen of the city of Detroit can request or petition for a study to be done to determine whether or not a property or it can be considered for local designation. In the city of Detroit, all districts are considered, everything is considered a district. It can be a single family, as in this case with the Rosa and Raymond Park flags, or a multi-building district, which would include such things as Indian Village, Boston Edison, Russell Woods Historic District, Grand River. So those are the larger districts. It could also include a park. The Maharis Park on the east side of Detroit is a locally designated district. It could include a monument. The Bagley Fountain is locally designated. I don't think many people knew that. So it kind of runs the myriad of things that are considered historical, but also of historical importance to the city of Detroit, to the state, and in some cases to the nation.
So what is the process to get that designation?
process is as straightforward. Like I said, a person can petition, send a letter requesting consideration for a local designation. In that letter, they should state why they feel that that property or that site should be looked at and considered for designation. That request is sent to the clerk's office and is CC to this to myself or to our office, the Historic Designation Advisory Board, as well as to the district, the council district in which it's located. So you should reach out to your council member, find out what district you live in, and make sure that he gets a copy or she gets a copy, as well as the at-large president of the Detroit City Council. It is then placed on a pending list, and once we are ready to move forward, we send a reso to the City Council, letting them know that we're ready for the proposed study, at which time the City Council directs our office, our team, our staff to deal with, to appoint 2 ad hoc members for the study committee. These are voting members of the committee, and they have the same powers that any of our board members have in determination, questioning, and voting for a proposed designation. The districts and our board consists of 9 members that are appointed by Detroit City Council and approved by Detroit City Council, and they represent the city of Detroit. So from every district, there's 7 districts and there's 2 at-large council members.
All right, thanks, Janice. We'll talk more about this in 90 seconds. We will be right back.
Thank you.
All right, we're back with Janice Chapman, Director of Detroit's Historic Designation Advisory Board. Again, thank you for joining us. Let's pick up on the conversation. Why is it so important to maintain our history in Detroit, and particularly this Rosa Parks house?
For 2 reasons. Well, I'm murdering, but for 2 reasons in this case. First of all, Rosa Parks, and I don't think people realize this, lived more than half her life here in the city of Detroit. So in the past, what people have done is that they have fixed her history on the Montgomery bus boycott, which, although very important and we don't, phenomenal, it's not all she did. And while she was here in the city of Detroit, her activism continued. And so it's important that our young people and the people realize that when we're talking about Rosa Parks and our, this pioneer and his warrior who set forth and basically was known as the mother of the civil rights movement, that she spent most of her life in Detroit, and that most of her advocacy was taking place here in the city of Detroit. That's number 1. Number 2, why this house? Again, as you stated earlier, she lived and resided at this home with her husband, Raymond Parks, for the longest time of any residence that she had here in the city of Detroit. What people are not aware of, I think, is that the activism of her husband, Raymond Parks, who who was also an activist and was participating in the Scottsboro trial and advocating for that. He was a founding member of the Montgomery, Alabama NAACP. So that history is important. And then the most important thing, why do we do this? Well, how many of times, and we do a lot, I look around and our young people and need to understand and need to see tangible examples of our history here in the city of Detroit. What I tell people is that the interwoven of Detroit's history tells everybody's story. And you cannot diminish that. So whereas you can talk about it is one thing, but when it's textile and you can touch it and you can see it and feel it, it becomes that much more alive for all of us. And that's why it's so very important that we know about these sometimes obscure buildings, which have, that look, very ordinary looking vernacular structures. They're homes. And you say, well, all of that took place. Motown's a prime example of that. All of that took place in a house. And you kind of go, oh, wow. And people come from all over the world to go and say, oh, this took place in these two houses. And that's what makes it also that much more special.
And a lot of people don't realize that when Rosa Parks moved here, she struggled during her time here. At some point, she wasn't making, a great income. And so that flat kind of symbolizes where her life went after the Montgomery bus boycott.
And you're absolutely correct. Rosa Parks and Raymond Parks moved here because of the harassment they were dealing with in Alabama. And so they moved here to the city of Detroit. And when they first got here, it was very difficult for them. Although she was, was pioneered as the mother of the Montgomery bus boycott, especially at that time, do you put that on your resume and say, okay, that's who we want to hire. So that was part and parcel. Her husband, who had went to barber and learned to become a barber at the Tuskegee Airmen's Tuskegee Airmen, also, that's where he did. He took on a job and was barbering a few blocks from their home. And they did struggle. They were not making a lot of money. And it wasn't until people realized that here's the mother of the civil rights movement, and she's, she's struggling. So John Conyers, at the time he was a congressman, he did give her a job, and she worked for him for over 20 years. And that helped the family's finances quite a bit.
All right, I really appreciate your time. A very informative, enlightening discussion.
Thank you. And can I just say that there's a public hearing being held tomorrow at Detroit City Council at the Coleman Young Municipal Center at 10 o'clock. So if you can make it, we would appreciate you coming down to share with us and to express your opinion on the proposed designation. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you adding that. All right, storms possible throughout the day. Ashley is timing it all out for you. Plus, one of the more popular tourist spots on Lake Michigan is officially opening for the summer. Here's a hint at what it is. You're looking live at the area. One of Michigan's historic lighthouses is about to reopen. The Big Sable Point Lighthouse at Ludington State Park starts its season today. It's been closed since Labor Day for a $2.5 million construction project. Crews repaved the area, created new areas for people to walk, and fixed parking lots. The reopening was postponed because of that construction. The lighthouse was built in 1867 and has panoramic views of Lake Michigan. So beautiful. Staying on Lake Michigan, one of the area's most popular beaches is about to get more sand. Crews are starting dredging operations at the outer harbor of the South Haven pier heads. That will add sand to a nearby beach, help the shoreline, and more. The city of South Haven says the work should be finished within the next week.
Love me some Lake Michigan on the west side of the state.
I need to get out there more.
Oh, it's just so beautiful. My only complaint is it just takes so long for the water to warm up compared to, down in the Atlantic and the Gulf and all that at this time of year. But boy, it's like having that like a freshwater ocean on the west side of the state. I love that.
It's so beautiful. Let's talk about the weather here.
Well, it's not going to be that beautiful this afternoon as we have some storm chances. But what will be nice is a little break from the heat. And that's great news for the folks that you see on this map that are without power. So from yesterday's storms knocking out power, we still have areas from Livingston, Macomb, Oakland, Wayne counties that are with some of those power outages. So hopefully DTE can get out there and restore that as those temperatures are rising today, and then we have the potential for another round of wet weather. But I think that as far as the severe threat, that'll be a little farther south today. But boy, we've been in a heat wave. We're coming off of 4 straight days where we've hit at least 90. And the last 2, we've been at 95 over at Metro Airport. We were shy of the record yesterday. We tied it on Monday. And so now we're falling out of that record territory. So temperature change for today. It is cooler, a little more noticeable as you get north of M59, but we'll take any degree back that we can get. 76 right now at Metro Airport, and we have some 60s still on the board. That's from Port Huron all the way through Lapeer towards Flint. So some cooler air to our north, and the cloud cover will keep those temperatures from rising at a really quick rate like they did yesterday. It's going to be a more slow progression, and so that's why those temperatures top out in the 80s today. Now 70s to our north, so I think there will be a lot of northern suburbs that struggle to get that 80-degree mark, and not many folks will be complaining. Maybe Will, because he really likes the heat, but but we do have the low to mid 80s in the forecast with feels like temperatures closer to 90 because it's going to be muggy today. But with the heat and humidity and that stationary boundary that's stalled over us, there will be some storm chances after about 2 o'clock this afternoon. Farther west, a little bit earlier, so towards Lansing, you'll probably see that closer to the lunch hour, but you see how it becomes more widespread at 2 for Washtenaw, inching into the western portion of Wayne County, pushing eastward because it's riding along that front. So by 6, I think that we start to get a break, although you might get an isolated shower or 2, but that's going to be the pattern over the next couple days. Tomorrow and Friday, a couple pockets of some bubble up showers and storms, nothing widespread, but they would be likely non-severe storms, and some of that even tracking a little farther north going into Friday. But this is more of a southern event for us across southeastern Michigan today, south of I-94, where we could see those wind gusts around 60 miles per hour in the storms that roll through, and even some flash flooding because of just a quick, heavy downburst of rain like you saw along I-75 yesterday. Now, as far as dry days, I feel like it times out well. Weekend shaping up to be drier. And so this is the time of year you see those outdoor weddings and graduation parties and all that fun stuff. So we don't have to worry about needing the umbrella, but it will still feel tropical over the next several days. So if you're heading out to the Tigers game, well, they're going to start a new homestand come Friday. So they're home today, tomorrow, and then all the way through the weekend. But we will be hovering in the mid 80s to right around 90 over the next several days when it comes to those game time forecasts. And tomorrow and Friday, maybe if they get that isolated shower around the area, you could see a rain delay, but I don't think we'll have any kind of postponement because it's not going to be a prolonged event. And then a couple 90s on the board in that 7-day forecast. So those are for you, Will.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Ashley.
Yeah.
You really deliver for me. All right, today the Senate will vote on the controversial Big Beautiful Bill. Now, a live look at Washington, D.C., the sticking point for lawmakers on both sides that could keep from passing. The ex-boyfriend accused of killing a Macomb County mother will be back in court today. DeAndre Booker is charged with murder, tampering with evidence, and concealing death. He's accused of killing his ex-girlfriend, Ashley Elkins, who went missing in January. Her body has never been found despite searches at a local landfill. Police say there's enough evidence to believe Booker killed her. Also in court today, the man accused of killing a Detroit neurosurgeon. We're going through some of the chilling testimony we've heard over the last 2 days on Local 4 Plus. Also, the important reminder about staying vigilant for police and crews on the road after a crash in Frenchtown Township and getting a breathtaking view of the night sky. We're talking about the perfect spot to get away from the city lights and an upcoming star party. Ashley is back with a look at your forecast in just a few minutes. Keep it here.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Welcome back to Local 4 Live. I'm Will Jones in for Nick Monticelli. Our top story is the weather. With this heat comes the risk for storms much of the day. Let's bring in forewarned meteorologist Ashley Bearsey with some details about this heat.
Yeah, so at least we're not into the 90s today, but still looking at 80s with really oppressive humidity. And the fact that we have kind of a front stalled out that you see right here on the map, that's going to allow even the showers you see off towards Iowa that are riding along the front, that continues to move west to east. Kind of think of it like a train track, and it's riding along the tracks, and that will head our way as we go into the afternoon and the evening hours. And so this is a look right now where we even have some development just south of Lansing. So we might even get a few passing showers late this morning before the possibility of more severe weather south of here later today. That's going to be south of I-94 in particular, where the Storm Prediction Center has given us a marginal level 1 risk. It's at a 5-level scale, but that's the threat that we had yesterday across all of southeastern Michigan. You saw that those storms produced damaging wind gusts and some flash flooding. So same threats will be on the table today, where the winds could gust up to about 60 miles per hour in storms that develop, and also some heavy downpours that'll be really quick. And so it's not going to be necessarily the overall total of rain that's the issue. It's going to be that amount of rain in a short amount of time. And sometimes the pipes and drains and things just can't keep up with that, and you get that instantaneous flooding. Right now, clouds will be in our favor when it comes to just the lack of the temperatures rising quickly. So 72 degrees right now, 77 in Ann Arbor, 72 in Pontiac, and just shy of 80 in Monroe. And so for today, I think we're probably low. The higher side would be mid 80s, but the farther north you go, probably not getting out of this upper 70s. And the storm chances more prominent to the south that we just talked about. After 2 o'clock is where we'll have a little more of that activity. And so we'll take a closer look at that timeline in just a few minutes. But you see the tarp on the field at Comerica Park. Well, they did have a rain delay yesterday because of those storms rolling through. And the Tigers are at home today, tomorrow, and all the way through the weekend. So, I think there's the chance of seeing a rain delay a little bit later. But overall, I don't think you get a complete postponement because we're not looking at a widespread event.
But people are going to need to stay hydrated because of the heat, right?
100%. I mean, I've been at games before where they have passed out Ziploc baggies of ice to fans that are in the stands because it's so hot. So, you get a little bit of a wind tunnel on that concourse at Comerica Park. I would suggest is to give yourself a few breaks and allow yourself to go on the concourse, stay hydrated with non-alcoholic beverages on a day
important.
Like today. Yeah.
People aren't going to listen to you, though.
No, I know. I get, for some folks, it's part of the experience, but that's one of the big tips that we give on the hot days is you just try to avoid the alcohol because that's going to dehydrate you quicker.
All right. Appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank you, Ashley. A woman connected to the case of London Thomas is due in court this morning. You may remember Thomas is the 17-year-old found dead in Southfield back in April. Charla Pendergrass is the mom of Thomas's ex-boyfriend. She's charged with lying to police during the search for the teen. Today is a probable cause hearing. It's a time for the defense and prosecution to talk about the case. Pendergrass is due in the courtroom at 10:30 this morning. A Detroit woman charged with allegedly firing shots at a tow truck driver is due in court this morning. According to police, Shaquanda Tankersley fired a shot at a man trying to repossess her car. When police got to the scene, they returned fire and shot her. You're looking at video of that scene. Tankersley is okay, but she's charged with assault with intent to murder and felony firearm. She's due in front of a judge for a probable cause hearing at 8:30 this morning, so around this time. A measles outbreak is declared in Grand Traverse County. According to health officials, a third case of measles is confirmed. All 3 patients are linked. Health officials warn about exposure at an apartment complex and Walmart supercenter in Traverse City earlier this month. It may take between 7 to 21 days for people to feel sick. Health experts say measles is very contagious and the best route to stay healthy is getting vaccinated. We're watching this Senate today as you look live at Washington, D.C. Senators could vote this week on President Trump's domestic policy legislation. The president calls it his big, beautiful bill. Republicans are trying to secure enough support to pass it with a simple majority, but there's a sticking point over Medicaid. The Senate plans could cut it more deeply than the House version. The bill would also extend trillions in tax cuts and raise the debt ceiling. Today, a man accused of killing a Detroit neurosurgeon could find out if he's going to trial. We've heard new evidence and details of the relationship between Dr. Devon Hoover and the defendant, Desmond Burks. Local 4's Shantae Passmore has the details of some chilling testimony connecting the defendant to some of the victims' belongings.
Hey there, we're learning that this preliminary hearing could wrap up as early as today. From the stand, we've heard witnesses share deeply personal exchanges between the victim and the defendant. And because some of the witnesses have received threats, the judge has gone to great lengths to protect their identity.
He just said his doctor friend came to visit him.
3 witnesses identifying 34-year-old Desmond Burks, not only in surveillance video near Dr. Devon Hoover's white SUV, parked just around the block from where Burks had been living back in April of 2023 when the doctor was killed, but with Hoover inside his home. Prosecutors say the 2 had been intimately involved.
And what activity did you observe?
I observed them have intercourse.
Hoover found shot twice in the back of his head, his nude body wrapped in carpet in the attic of his Boston Edison home. A witness testifying Tuesday that Burks had been struggling financially, selling drugs.
Did he do anything else to make money?
Yes, he sold himself.
But days after Hoover's murder, the witness says Burks had an additional cell phone, had been buying jewelry at the mall and sending others money.
So he told you that the deceased person sent you money as well?
Yes.
The same witness says Burks asked him to get rid of a backpack after his arrest. Inside, finding toothpaste, clothes, a 9mm, and
A black and gray box with Dr. Hoover's name on it. And then inside was a pair of surgical goggles with his name inscribed on it.
that same witness then says they watched Burks throw the gun into the Rouge River, later identifying Burks here, wearing the same watch prosecutors say the doctor purchased 2 days before his murder. Meanwhile, the defense is also arguing how in some of the videos you can't really make out that person's face, and just because that person in the video has a limp doesn't mean that that's Burks. We'll have live updates from court right on clickondetroit.com. We're reporting from downtown Detroit. I'm Shantae Passmore, Local 4.
Our Erica Erickson has been covering this case. She'll join us in the next half hour to talk about what she's expecting to learn today in the courtroom. A semi-driver has died after a crash involving two MDOT vehicles on I-75 in Monroe County. You're looking at video of the crash on Tuesday morning. This is near I-275 in Frenchtown Township. According to Michigan State Police, the semi hit two MDOT vehicles from behind. The driver of the truck died at the scene because this crash involved crew working on the road. Darnell Blackburn, our crime and safety expert, is reminding us about the move over law to prevent crashes similar to this.
If this happens, if you're on the road, you see these vehicles, or you're driving through construction zones and you see these vehicles on the side, move over at least one lane if you can. If you can. We don't want you just jumping over and causing an accident if you can't. But if you can't move over, then slow down at least 10 miles under the speed limit, because you want to just try to prevent crashes from happening. And lastly, most importantly, pass with caution. Just exercise due diligence. People are out trying to work and they want to help you fix the roads. Police want to help and firefighters want to respond to scenes. So again, just be conscientious of that.
All right. Thank you, Darnell. Still ahead, Hobie Artigue sits down with a Detroit Tigers star as the team continues to win big. Plus, it's a big day in baseball history, how Michigan played a role in shaping the future of kids' sports. Welcome back. The Detroit Tigers are red hot right now, and we're going to hear from one of their well-known players. But first, a look back at today in history, the baseball edition. On June 25th, 1953, Al Kaline made his major league debut for the Tigers. He was 18 years old and had just gotten out of high school. Kaline played in the major leagues for more than 20 years and was elected to the Hall of Fame in 1980. Then on June 25th, 1956, the first ever game of T-ball was played in Michigan. It was pioneered by Jerry Sikarsky. a rec league director in Albion. He wanted to help children learn baseball and came up with the idea to allow batters to hit the ball off of a tee. Back to present day, the Tigers are the best team in baseball right now, and our Hobie RT caught up with outfielder Kerry Carpenter. They talked baseball and Carpenter's new partnership with Savvy Sliders.
So how does an athlete get their own value meal?
By God's grace, because this is awesome. This is so cool, and I mean, I love burgers. It's like one of my favorite meals in general.
Is that your cheat meal?
Yeah, it's definitely my cheat meal. So this is really cool. When we got to set this up, it was an honor for me, and so it's kind of surreal.
So it's called the Kerry Bonds meal. When's the first time somebody ever called you that?
I think it was in AA in 2022. I started playing pretty well, and Bo Brisky, I'm pretty sure, at least from what I hear, he coined the term, and so he's the founder of that term. I'm not sure how he came up with it, but it's an honor to be, called by that last name as a joke, but I'm not quite as good as the real Bonds.
But something to strive toward.
Exactly.
And now you see people around Detroit adopt that. I mean, what's it like to hear people call you Kerry Bonds whenever you're at Comerica Park or on the road, because you guys have had so many fans follow you over the last couple of weeks?
It always makes me smile because it's such it always makes me smile because the people in the clubhouse, like my best friends, like they kind of joke around with me about it, and then hearing fans do it and seeing people like with shirts or something, it's really cool. It's an honor to be thought of that way, and even though it's a little tongue-in-cheek, it's still an honor to be thought of that way by my teammates and the fans.
You say that, so what are the guys in the clubhouse going to say whenever they see this and you're in a commercial for sliders?
I'm not sure what they're going to say, but honestly, it's going to be great, and I hope they try it out.
So you were here shooting a commercial, so what's harder to do, doing a commercial for sliders or hitting a slider?
Doing a commercial. But some of the sliders in the big leagues are pretty good, so I will say they're both tough, but I'm better at hitting.
So looking at what you guys have done to this point, I mean, how does it feel to be on one of, if not the best team in baseball in 2025?
It's amazing because I was on the team, the past couple years, and from when I came up to the big leagues till now, we've gotten a lot better, and it's been a lot of the same guys, so it's been cool that I got to play in the minor leagues with a lot of these guys, and then to see guys like Riley Green and Torque and KC and Scooble and all these guys that have really blossomed into all-stars in the big leagues is pretty special. And so being a part of one of the best teams in baseball is an honor for me, and I know that we're going to try to keep going and try to do it a lot better than we did last year, and last year was a blessing too.
So many people see the result of what it is right now, 40-plus wins on the year, but they don't understand the work that it takes to get to that point. How gratifying is it, like you just said, I mean, to have so many guys come up together to enjoy this experience together as a group?
Yeah, it's amazing. That's the best part of it, is the guys on the team, and seeing guys like Parker Meadows come up and do so well and have success at this level, because no one really sees the grind that you have in the minor leagues and the struggles that we all went through in the minor leagues. It was never just like an amazing straight path like it seems like to everybody, but it is really gratifying to have that kind of success, and after we all know what it took to get there,
So many ebbs and flows in a baseball season. You're kind of riding that wave right now, but how much do you rely on those guys? Because if you look at every single game that you guys play, and every night it seems like it's somebody different stepping up to lead the way for you guys.
That's the thing, is like, it doesn't matter who's in the lineup or who's in the big leagues at the time. We got guys that are in AAA right now that could be in the big leagues and have produced for our team. So it's amazing that we have so many people that can come up and contribute when their name is called, and it doesn't matter who it is. No one wants to be the hero, or no one cares about being the hero. We just want to win the game, and so it's been awesome to see.
So 6 series left until the All-Star break coming up. What are you guys hoping to accomplish?
Hopefully six series wins
coming up.
Yeah,
6 series wins.
Yeah, that's kind of our goal every time we go out there and start a new series, is to win the series, because that's really what we're going for in October. Those are just another series that we have to win. So it's pretty special that our eyes are just focused on one thing, and there's no ego or anything, and so it's just, if we get the job done, we get the job done. If not, we go get them tomorrow.
How hard is that to find in any team sport where it seems like there is no ego whenever you walk in the room? Because you see so many different teams across the spectrum of sports that they have the one guy that leads the way, but it seems like you guys have an entire room full of guys like that.
Yeah, I mean, we got a guy too. We got Scuba.
True, that's true.
But
he's kind of grown into that.
Yeah, exactly. And he's definitely not, doesn't have the big ego. So like, he has every reason to, but he's not. And he takes a lot of the young guys under his wing, and he's a team guy. He supports the starting pitchers a ton. Like, goes out and helps them, talks to them. I've seen him take people under his wing all the time. So it's amazing to have a bunch of guys that are superstars and also not bigger than anybody else on the team at the same time.
So many people are excited about baseball in 2025, and I'm sure that this is something that you've worked towards since you got in Detroit. But to hear the people, just in here a couple minutes ago, we heard a Let's Go Tigers. What is this team capable of? A lot of baseball still to play, but what is this team capable of to close out the year?
I mean, we can win. We can win deep into the playoffs, and that's our goal with the season anyways, and we showed it last year, and now this year we're showing that it wasn't just a one-off, and so we beat good teams. We beat the teams we should beat. Sometimes, we have a little hiccup, but there's room for hope to go deep in the playoffs, and that's our entire goal. So that's what I think we can do, and we just have to go out there and do it.
The Tigers take on the Athletics tonight at 6:40 at Comerica Park. Coming up, combining one of Michigan's most popular tourist attractions and stargazing. We'll tell you about a really cool experience happening this weekend, plus updates on the timing of today's storms. Ashley's back to track it all. Have you picked out your favorites in our Vote for the Best categories? We revealed the finalists earlier this week, and voting is now open. It's breakfast time. How does a donut sound? This year's finalists for Best Donuts include Avon Donuts in Pontiac, Donutville, USA in Dearborn, Dutch Girl Donuts in Detroit, East Detroit Bakery and Deli in East Point, Golden Donuts, Knapp's Donuts in Rochester, the Looney Baker in Livonia, Pete's Oven Bakery in Waterford Township, and Yellow Light Coffee and Donuts in Detroit. You can vote until July 21st. All right, Ashley, do you have a favorite donut place?
Well, I don't necessarily have a favorite, but I would say my kids like the Looney Baker in Livonia. Convenient for us as there's a hockey rink over there. My son plays hockey, so they always want to hit the Looney Baker when we leave the ice arena.
I don't have a place yet, so I need to find one. So I'll take a look at some of those on the list.
There you go. I mean, isn't that a great guide to be able to at least find some really great spots around town? No matter who wins, if you're a finalist, you got to be pretty darn good.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know if this is the right type of weather that I would want to eat a donut, though.
Well, if you're eating a donut, you probably want the iced coffee as opposed to the hot coffee. Are you a coffee drinker?
Tea. I do tea.
I'm with you. I prefer the tea as well. You can do iced tea, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah. But yeah, we still want the cooler drinks, the more refreshing beverages today, even though we're not into the 90s, it's going to be warm. Do want to show you exact track 4D as we've been following some showers that have crossed Lake Michigan. They were a little bit more robust on the west side of the state and now weakening as they're pushing through mid-Michigan, especially Lansing right now, getting probably a moderate shower or two. And so we'll likely get a passing shower this morning that'll be more so isolated as that continues to weaken, pushing eastward. But I would say as those temperatures rise, the humidity stays pretty tropical. South of I-94, you'll have that marginal risk for severe storms to develop, much like yesterday, where damaging wind gusts around 60 miles per hour and some flash flooding just due to the fact that we get the brief heavy downpours will be on the table. Now, the light green across the rest of southeastern Michigan would indicate some non-severe storms, which isn't great news for those that are still dealing with power outages. I will say that we've seen improvement on this power outage map since I first joined you at 4:30 this morning, especially for Washtenaw County, now lifting the amount of power outages there. But crews working to restore that power, and hopefully it'll stay restored. And these next round of storms won't be knocking out as much power today, but we'll have to wait and see. Temperature change, well, we're cooling things off, especially north of M59, where we're averaging 10 to 15 degrees cooler. And check out Port Huron, 18 degrees cooler from 24 hours ago. I mean, folks are rejoicing about that. But temperatures are still well into the 70s across the metro area. In fact, we're already at 81 degrees down in Monroe. And so for temperatures today, probably shy of 80 north of M59 and low to mid 80s from M59 southward all the way down to the state line. So cloud cover is going to hinder those temperatures from getting in the 90s today. However, as temperatures fall, that humidity level will not be. So it's still very muggy. It's the air you can wear out there, and chances for storms as we head into the afternoon, especially after 2 o'clock. So these move from west to east. This is the latest model run, kind of pushing it back a little bit by about a half hour. So I think that we'll see some of those showers firing off down to our south around 2 o'clock, but not really as widespread as it was looking at 2 o'clock until about 3:30 this afternoon. And so by 5 or 6 o'clock, we're going to be pushing some of this out of here, and then we have more of an isolated chance the next couple of days as that humidity stays rather high. So your full forecast will say the higher level would be mid 80s, but some areas struggle to hit 80 today. Mid 80s tomorrow, and then 90 come Friday, 90 again on Sunday. Dry weekend ahead with storm chances returning early next week.
It's summer.
It is summer. It's summertime in Michigan, and you get those extreme days. I mean, we're always complaining about it.
Exactly.
Like if it's winter, we're complaining it's too cold, it's too snowy, it's too hot in the summer. I mean, we always have to have something to complain about.
I always think about January when when you hear people complain about the weather now,
I know. I'm with you. I would rather be a little too warm than absolutely too cold. And some people argue the opposite, that you can layer up.
Yeah.
But then there is a threshold where like you just can't get warm when it's that cold outside in January and February. So I'm with you. I'll take the heat.
Good.
At least it's only a few days in the summer. It's not like we have 3 months of 90-degree days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to spot all of the constellations of the night sky when you're in Metro Detroit. If you're missing out on the amazing view, we have just the getaway just for you. a lot of people head up north to enjoy the water and get away from the bright lights of the city. This weekend, there's a really cool opportunity to enjoy all of those open spaces. Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lakeshore is hosting a star party at the Dune Climb. You can come after sunset, take a lit trail up the dunes, and take in the stars. The event is free. If you missed it this weekend, Sleeping Bear does this every year. Heading to Ann Arbor, where the city is breathing some new life into an old industrial site. Developers are revamping the site off Broadway Street, just north of downtown, and you can start to see the progress. They're turning the area into a park along the Huron River that is set to open in September. They will also build condos, retail spaces, a hotel, and a restaurant in the area. Much more news and weather coming up in our next half hour. Still ahead, our Erica Erickson joins us to talk about the murder of Detroit doctor. The suspect is set to appear in court at any moment for day 3 of a hearing, what we're learning about the case. Plus, your pets are probably struggling in this heat too, what you can do right now to help them. And we're celebrating 150 years of Mackinac Island, the big events planned this summer to mark a very special anniversary in Michigan. More news and weather in our next hour. Stay with us.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Local 4 Live. I'm Will Jones in for Nick Monticelli. It's 9 a.m., and we have a lot to cover in this hour. Let's break it all down. Court is about to get underway in the hearing for a man accused of murdering a Detroit doctor. Could there be a decision today on whether the suspect goes to trial? Our Erica Erickson has been following the case closely. She will join us with what we can expect today in court and recap what's already happened. Plus, it is still hot and muggy out. We know how that can affect us humans, but how about your pets? We'll chat with an expert. And celebrating Mackinac Island, how one of Michigan's true gems is marking a big milestone starting today. We want to begin with the weather, and forewarned meteorologist Ashley Bearsey is here, and everyone knows it. When you step outside, it's hot.
It is hot out there. And so at least it's not quite as extreme as the last couple days, but we are going to be dealing with the oppressive humidity, which makes it feel even warmer. So today's highs are going to be in the 80s, but feeling closer to 90 when you factor in that humidity.
I love it.
I know you do.
Yeah.
I know.
I have AC though, so for the
That's
folks
true.
who don't have AC, they have nowhere to go and get some relief.
I know. And that's been one of the issues too, is we've been talking about the extreme heat in the afternoon, but really it's the overnight when we haven't been getting a break to open up the windows and allow cooler air to come in. So that starts to improve just a smidge in the next day or two, but then we're right back to around 90. So let's talk more about what we're tracking, because we're kind of trading that extreme heat for storm potential again today, as we have that stationary boundary just draped over the southern edge of lower Michigan. So you can see some of the rain showers on the western edge of this boundary, which is a warm front. That's going to kind of serve as a train track heading into our area, where we could have rounds of showers kind of riding along that track. And so instability stays with us, keeping us in an active pattern really throughout the rest of the work week. So a few showers that are just south of Lansing, but they have been weakening as they pushed off of Lake Michigan. So probably something isolated this morning, but a better chance for some stronger storms to develop as we head into the afternoon. That's going to be mainly along and south of I-94, where those damaging wind gusts and some flash flooding could be the primary threats, much like yesterday. You get those microbursts, which will bring you the strong wind gusts and a heavy downpour in a short amount of time, and it's just hard for the drains to keep up with that. Even if it's not an excessive amount of rain, just within a short amount of time, we just can't get that to kind of flush out quickly. So you could get some standing water out of it. 72 degrees in the city right now, 78 in Ann Arbor, 70 in Pontiac, but 81 in Monroe. We will trend a little warmer closer to the state line, but we'll be in the low to mid 80s across the metro area, upper 70s to our north, and storm chances as we head into the afternoon, which we'll map out in further detail in just a few minutes.
All right. Appreciate it, Ashley. Underway in court right now, a probable cause hearing for a Detroit woman charged with allegedly firing shots at a tow truck driver. Police say Shaquanda Tankersley fired shots at a man trying to repossess her car. When police got to the scene, they returned fire and shot her. You're looking at video of that scene. Tankersley is okay, but she is charged with assault with intent to murder and felony firearm. Also in the courtroom, a woman connected to the London Thomas case is due back in court this morning. You may remember Thomas is the 17-year-old found dead in Southfield back in April. Charlotte Pendergrass is the mom of Thomas's ex-boyfriend. She's charged with lying to police during the search for the teen. Today is a probable cause hearing. It's a time for the defense and prosecution to talk about the case. Pendergrass is due in the courtroom at 10:30 this morning, so about an hour and a half. Meanwhile, Detroit police are now looking for two men believed to be involved with a shooting Tuesday night. It happened near Randolph and Larned around 10 p.m. Police say two men were fighting when one of them pulled out a gun and fired. A man and woman got shot, but they are recovering. Police hope someone can help identify the men on your screen. If you have any information, call Detroit Police or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-SPEAK-UP. Court is about to get started on day 3 of the hearing in the murder of a well-known Detroit doctor. Desmond Burks is going before a judge for a preliminary hearing for the death of Dr. Devon Hoover. Hoover was a neurosurgeon at Ascension Hospital in Detroit and was found dead in his Boston Edison home back in 2023. Our Erica Erickson is following the case all week. She joins us now with what to expect today and a recap of what happened yesterday. Good morning, Erica.
Good morning. Now, first off, this has been a difficult case, of course, like any case, but there's a lot of restrictions the judge has put on this, so it's kind of difficult to even tell everyone about, because I guess there have been threats made on both sides for these witnesses. So when we're speaking of them, we're just referring to them as witnesses, and we're not sharing names, faces, gender, anything that would identify them. So
And this is very unusual, right, for a judge to put this order?
It is, and in the beginning, it was a little more lax, but now it's gotten even stricter. So
making it very difficult for you to do your reporting.
Yeah, but we're trying, and there was a lot of information that was given yesterday, and a few witnesses that took the stand. We heard phone calls from the suspect, Desmond Burks, to one of the witnesses, asking them to get rid of some belongings in a storage unit. 3 people identified him in surveillance video. He has this distinct walk. It's this limp because he had been shot. So he had been using a cane and a walker for some time, but he still has this limp. And the defense has been arguing, well, just because this person in this video has this limp and you can't see his face, that doesn't mean it's Burks. But 3 people identified him. Prosecutors also discussed a lot of transactions totaling about $21,000 taken from Dr. Hoover's account to Burks and to some of Burks' associates. One witness testified that Burks had been strapped for cash, and then days after, he was sending others just chunks of money, $300, $500, $600. And then he was seen on surveillance video wearing a watch that just 2 days before he was murdered, Dr. Hoover had purchased. And that was when another witness identified him there. And then text messages between Burks and Hoover and another witness, those were read also in court, and they were intimate, all of these 3. And there were some details given there that I'm not going to get too much into, but there was a bag that allegedly Burks had, and he asked this witness if he had it. This witness said, he testified that they had gotten rid of the things in the bag. And he said there was toothpaste, clothing, and some of Dr. Hoover's belongings, and this gun. And I keep slipping up here. It's hard to not say the gender of these people, but.
And I want to pause and take a look at your story that you filed for us yesterday.
Okay.
He just said his doctor friend came to visit him.
3 witnesses identifying 34-year-old Desmond Burks, not only in surveillance video near Dr. Devon Hoover's white SUV just around the block from where Burks had been living, but with Hoover inside his home. Prosecutors say the 2 had been intimately involved.
And what activity did you observe?
I observed them have intercourse.
Hoover found shot twice in the back of his head in April of 2023. His nude body wrapped in carpet in the attic of his Boston Edison home. A witness testifying Tuesday that Burks had been struggling financially, selling drugs.
Did he do anything else to make money?
Yes, he sold himself.
But days after Hoover's murder, the witness says Burks had an additional cell phone, had been buying jewelry at the mall, and sending others money.
So he told you that the deceased person sent you money as well?
Yes.
The same witness says Burks asked them to get rid of a backpack after his arrest, inside finding toothpaste, clothes, a 9mm, and
a black and gray box with Dr. Hoover's name on it, and then inside was a pair of surgical goggles with his name inscribed on it.
That witness then says they watched Burks throw a gun into the Rouge River, later identifying Burks here, wearing the same watch prosecutors say the doctor purchased 2 days before his murder.
All right, Erica, how much longer will this last?
It's expected to wrap up today. Prosecutors said yesterday that they had eliminated some of the witnesses from being called. It could go into tomorrow, but I think it sounded like they were trying to wrap it up today. So could he head to trial for this doctor's murder? It sounds like they had a lot of evidence. I think 300 pieces of evidence, originally 87 witnesses spanning different states and countries. They had this investigation going on, so yeah,
anything
there's a lot here.
Surprising for you, and imagine as a reporter just listening to all these details, it's hard to figure out, okay, what's important, what do I need to focus on with your reporting?
I think what was probably, I think just the whole case in itself, you see these people who, on both sides, there are these people who are testifying who clearly care about the suspect and they don't want to be there. And that's really sad. And then on the other side of it, there is this doctor who his life is gone. and he was clearly deeply loved and admired in the community. And nobody probably wants to see details like this emerge. I said this yesterday about the family of the suspect. Now I'm going to say it about the family of this victim. I can't imagine how they're feeling having to go through all of this. So I think as a whole, this is probably really painful for both sides.
Appreciate your time, but yeah, you're right. A lot of personal details.
A lot of
being shared
personal
that people
details
would
that-
never imagine when you're sending these types of text messages that they would become public.
Exactly.
All right, appreciate it.
Thanks, Will.
All right, coming up, we're going to have much more. We're going to talk about a major milestone for Mackinac Island. Mackinac Island is celebrating a very important anniversary. It's been 150 years since President Ulysses S. Grant signed a bill into law creating Mackinac National Park. Take a look. This is the actual bill signed. It comes from the Library of Congress website. It says the bill set by Thomas White Ferry, a bill to set apart a certain portion of the island of Mackinac in the Straits of Mackinac within the state of Michigan as a national park. 2 years after it was introduced, it was signed into law. Mackinac National Park was the second national park in the United States following Yellowstone in Wyoming. The bill set aside more than 50% of Mackinac Island for the enjoyment of the public, where they could enjoy the island's beauty and historical significance. While the park eventually lost its national status, the area is still a state park. To celebrate the 150th anniversary, there are several events happening on the island, and they start today. Joining me this morning is Steve Brisson, the director of Mackinac State Historic Parks. Good morning.
Good morning.
So tell me about this major milestone.
Well, as you noted, it is a major milestone, being the fact that Mackinac Island became the second national park after Yellowstone in 1875. And, you know, a lot of people, of course, know what Yellowstone is and are often surprised to find out that little old Mackinac Island up here at the Straits became the second. And it helped preserve the island. It was a very forward-looking idea at the time. And even though the national park only lasted 20 years, it became Michigan's first state park in 1895. And we've continued that tradition of preservation here at the Straits of Mackinac.
And a lot of people, they don't know that history. So I'm sure that's the point of what the celebration is about as well, to make sure people know this history of Michigan.
Yes, indeed. And it's really enlightening to look back and see those individuals in 1875 who were concerned with overdevelopment. and were concerned that the island's popularity had been a popular resort already for decades, was going to be lost because it was being loved too much. And they said, well, here's one way we can protect that by turning it into a national park. And they spoke about the island's natural wonders and historic charm, and this was considered the best way to preserve it.
And so how did it come to be that we lost the status of having a national park?
Well, as noted, when it was founded, it was only the second. There was no National Park Service at the time. And even at Yellowstone, there was really no federal officials to care for the park. But on Mackinac Island, there was a military presence. Fort Mackinac was still here. It had been here since 1780. There were still soldiers at Fort Mackinac. And so officially, the soldiers were put in charge of Mackinac National Park. That became one of their duties here. And then in 1895, the Army, for budgetary reasons, said, Fort Mackinac's got to go. We're closing it. And there went the federal personnel who took care of the park. There was still no Park Service yet. And so it was decided there were two options. Let it just get rid of the park, let it return to just regular federal land, or transfer it to the state of Michigan. And that's what happened.
So how are you celebrating this anniversary?
Oh, a number of events on the island, at Fort Mackinac in particular, throughout the summer, different walking tours and commemorations, and a gala event in August up at Fort Mackinac where we will celebrate in grand fashion the establishment of the park. We also have a documentary that we produce that's running at the fort every day, and also is available on YouTube about the whole history of Mackinac National Park.
Any particular portion of Mackinac Island's history that you appreciate more than maybe some other details that you like to highlight and tell people about?
Well, I think just what always impresses me about Mackinac is where you can come here and truly get in touch with the past. There are so many physical remnants of Mackinac's long history here. And, it's a very old place, and it has some of the oldest standing structures, not only in the state of Michigan, but in the upper Midwest. The walls and blockhouses of Fort Mackinac, for instance, Michigan's oldest standing church, Mission Church, which is also part of the park, and many other structures. And just so much historic fabric has been preserved here that you don't find in other communities elsewhere in this region.
How can people learn more about the history?
You can start by visiting our website, MackinacParks.com, and that'll get you started. And hopefully plan your visit up to Mackinac Island this summer.
Thank you for joining me this morning. I have never been, and it's one of my goals to get there.
Oh, we would be glad to welcome you here to Mackinac Island State Park.
All right. Appreciate your time this morning. Have a good rest of your day.
You too.
Many people use AI tools to make day-to-day tasks easier. As we get a live look of downtown Detroit, city leaders are beginning to use artificial intelligence to make the street lights safer. How it all works when we come back. Getting a live look at Detroit right now. And the city is taking a big step towards safer streets with the new AI-powered traffic tool, and Detroit needs it. We are the third worst city in the U.S. for pedestrian deaths, according to data from the U.S. Department of Transportation. And we're not great for cyclists either. The initiative aims to reduce traffic-related deaths and improve safety for pedestrians and cyclists at city intersections. Backed by a $2 million federal grant, it offers real-time data on crash trends and speeding. This is all shaped by resident feedback.
This will aid us in validating, and our residents in validating some of the concerns, and maybe we can start focusing on areas that can improve safety. Residents will be able to identify areas that they maybe have to watch out for, but I think more importantly, they would be able to kind of come to us and tell us, back it up in terms of where are the problematic areas.
The AI tool is phase one of a larger project by Detroit aimed at improving road safety. Another hot day on tap here in Metro Detroit, but it's not as hot as it's been.
No, I mean, we were in a 4-day stretch of 90s, and so we fall out of that heat wave today, but we're not done with the 90s quite yet. So we get a little break, but then we're trading it for the storm potential going into the afternoon. So I want to make sure folks are prepared for that.
Definitely.
Always have to be prepared for something around here weather-wise. And so for today, we are tracking a little bit of moisture coming off of Lake Michigan, but certainly weakening as it pushes eastward. I've been time-lapsing radar there to show you that a moderate downpour pushed through Lansing, but that's even going a little bit to the northeast. And so we'll have an isolated shower or two this morning, but as far as seeing a strong to severe storm potential, I would say after 2 o'clock this afternoon, and definitely more prominent along and south of I-94. But that doesn't mean that we're all in the clear. The light green on the map there would indicate some non-severe storms that still could be on the stronger side. But for that marginal level 1 risk, that's going to include wind gusts that'll be around 60 miles per hour and the potential for a little bit of flash flooding. So power outages, checking in on that map where we did have Washtenaw lift its color contour, meaning that they've restored most of the power throughout Washtenaw County, but the rest of the metro area, including Wayne, Oakland, Macomb County, still dealing with some of those outages today from yesterday's storms. And so hopefully we can get that restored before the next round comes in. 4 days, though, that we have officially clocked 90-degree temperatures this year, and we have a couple more in the forecast, but you can see the recap of the month where the last 4 days have been not just at 90. I mean, we've been well into the 90s. We were at 95 the last 2 days, which on Monday tied the record high on that date that has been standing there for over 100 years. So that temperature change, well, we are definitely noticing some cooler air building in, and that's specifically as you get north of M59, closer to Port Huron, where we're 10 to 20 degrees cooler from this time yesterday, and about 5 to 10 degrees cooler across the metro area. So temperatures right now, mainly in the 70s, but you will find a couple of those 80s down towards Monroe and Adrian, but otherwise still holding on to the 60s as you look towards Port Huron, where we are a bit cooler the farther north you go. So high temperatures for today. We'll be in the 70s along and north of M59 and low to mid 80s as you get south of that corridor. It'll feel a little warmer, though, because we still remain muggy. We have that tropical-like moisture stuck at the surface, and so storm chances will be more prominent to the south, as I mentioned. But as far as the time frame, after about 2 o'clock this afternoon, very similar time frame to yesterday as these storms ride along this frontal boundary and the peak heat of the day. So you see around 2 o'clock, we have some of those heavy downpours rolling through, a bit more widespread as we get closer to about 3:30. And then by the time we're at 6, I think we still have some lingering rain, but a lot of that's pushing out of here. You could have an isolated chance or two still on the board, but come tomorrow and into Friday, very much the scattered variety. Thursday afternoon, once again, about 2, 3 o'clock peak heat of the day, they might become a little bit more robust, but we're not under a severe risk in southeastern Michigan. So rain chances will remain scattered throughout the next few days, but the weekend shaping up to be drier before another round of storms early next week. So great for outdoor plans, but also take into account that it's going to be muggy, so it's going to feel like you can slice that air with the amount of moisture that'll be at the surface. So whenever it's that muggy and humid this time of year, it'll feel a little bit warmer, but we are forecasting 90 for Friday, and again on Sunday as we're cranking up the heat, close to 90 on Monday with those storm chances that'll drop us back to about mid 80s on Tuesday.
With the muggy weather, you take a shower, you go outside, and it feels like you need to go back inside and take another shower.
I mean, you're not kidding. And even if you're in the shade, I mean, my kids the other day, they were outside playing in the little kiddie pool in our backyard. backyard, and I was under our pergola, and so I was in the shade. I was probably sitting there for 10 minutes, and I could just feel the sweat pouring off me, and I wasn't even in the sun.
Yeah.
So it's just that humidity out there. You're not kidding. It almost feels like you're in the shower outside.
But we're not complaining.
I know, we're not going to complain. We're just illustrating the picture for you, but we're not complaining.
All right, thank you, Ashley. Getting a live look at New York right now when we're back, we're talking let me start over. When we're back, we're taking a closer look at the trial of Sean Combs with closing arguments set for tomorrow. Getting a live look at New York right now, where the trial of Sean Diddy Combs is set to begin closing arguments tomorrow. Combs told the court yesterday he would not take the stand in his own defense. The jury was not present as the judge told Combs he has a right to testify, and Combs replied he would not testify that, quote, "We have discussed it thoroughly. That is my decision." The prosecution rested its case after 28 days of testimony, and then the surprise move by the defense resting as well, having made their case mostly through cross-examination. Amazon is expanding its rapid delivery service to thousands of smaller cities, towns, and rural communities. Same-day and next-day delivery will be offered to 4,000 new communities across the U.S. by the end of the year. It's part of a $4 billion push by Amazon to triple the size of its delivery network. The online giant says rural customers living farther from stores have fewer brand choices and delivery options when shopping online. Amazon says one of the big benefits of faster delivery will be access to its everyday essentials like grocery and household goods. Chick-fil-A has come out on top again in an annual survey of customer satisfaction. The chain grabbed the #1 spot in the American Customer Satisfaction Index for the 11th straight year. Chick-fil-A topped the quick service restaurant category, which includes not only fast food rivals, but brands like Panera, Starbucks, and Domino's. Second place went to Panda Express, which saw its satisfaction score increase. McDonald's had the lowest score in the category. The survey looks at everything from the accuracy of orders to food quality, along with courtesy and helpfulness of a restaurant staff. What I love about Chick-fil-A, they respond with my pleasure with everything. Can I have more fries? My pleasure. Can I have more of this, more of that? So I'm a big fan of Chick-fil-A. All right, still ahead, we're checking back in with Ashley for the forecast, but also we're talking with an expert on some ways you can keep your four-legged friends cool and well-groomed in this summer heat.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Local 4 Live. I'm Will Jones in for Nick Monticelli, and thank you for watching. It's another scorcher out there today, and there's this chance for some severe storms in this heat. We want to begin with the weather and forewarned meteorologist Ashley Barrissey. Oh, okay. I wish I could come over and give you the weather, but I'm not able to do that. So, yeah, right now we're looking at the clouds and radar forecast. Now that disappeared. Let's see. We'll get back to Ashley and she'll get her mic on. But as you all know, that it's pretty hot out there. But we know how hard this heat has been on us, but it's just as tough on our pets. Joining me now to talk about how pet owners can be proactive and make this easier for our animals is Tanya Smith. She's the owner of LC's Detroit Pet Salon. Hi, Tanya. Good morning.
Hey, how are you?
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So what do folks need to know who have dogs about how to groom them for this summer heat?
The biggest thing I would say starting off is making sure that you are brushing your pets regularly. It's very important, believe it or not. If the coats are super tangly or they have a lot of undercoat, as we call it, they cannot regulate their own body temperature. So the biggest thing is making sure there's no matting, making sure you're brushing them. Also, another good thing is being mindful of their paw pads. A lot of people don't know that the paw pads, if it has too much hair in there, it's more majority of like the curlier dogs. Sometimes you'll get shepherds and stuff that'll have hair in the paw pads. Shave that out. If you can't do it or you don't feel comfortable, have your groomer do it, but that helps them regulate their body temperature. Even with the brushing and combing of your pet regularly helps them not only not get mats, but also be able to regulate body temperature.
And we were talking about some folks just think, let me just give my dog a summer shave and shave them down.
Yes.
That is not wise to do, surprisingly.
No, surprisingly. A lot of people think that, I'm just shave them down for the summer, they'll be cooler. That is not always the case, especially with heavy-coated dogs such as like Huskies, Golden Retrievers. Some people even shave their Labs. Unfortunately, when you shave them, you're actually stripping them of their weight to be able to regulate their body temperature. Now, if this is a situation where the pet is severely matted or your vet has recommended that they have a shave, then the groomer will do so. But actually shaving those type of dogs does not help. It actually makes it a little harder for them to regulate.
How do you know what is the appropriate length for your dog's hair or fur in the summer?
So me as a groomer and my experience in the industry, I've always taken each pet as a different case. So for example, like I have a lot of clients that have doodles. The summertime, doodles sometimes love to swim. They love to be in the yard. They love to run through water. I try to encourage them to take them not super short, but a decent length where they can still regulate body temperature, but also have a nice, clean, short look, but not shaved.
And how often should you bathe your dog in the summertime? Should you do it more because it's hot and they may be sweating?
I feel like the best way to do that is if your dog has been at the lake, swimming or in a pool, definitely bathe them after. You want to get whatever gunky stuff is off, get it off of them basically. But I would say like you don't have to overly bathe them if you want to do twice a month, 3 times a month. It just depends on the dog and how active that pet is. But if your pet has been exposed to like the woods, the elements, honestly, I say at least try to bathe them maybe once a week, once every other week, just depending on how active they are.
And this is very personal for you about folks taking care of their pets properly.
Yes.
You have a foundation that you recently started to help people do that.
Yes, so it's called LC's Foundation. I just started it not even a year ago. The focus is to assist pet parents and pet owners, well, same people, pet parents and pets with the ability to be able to get resources. So whether that's me teaching people how to groom to get a better, career, assisting pet parents and people with resources to get vaccines for their dogs, food pantries. So it's really a passion of mine. It's not just here in the community, but it's actually internationally as well.
You've traveled over to Africa to
Yes,
teach
sir.
people about
Yeah.
grooming. And
Yeah.
what was that like?
That was amazing. Just to see them and their ability to do things with minimal tools that we have here in the States, the willingness to just be open-minded and want to learn something new. It really pushed me harder to start the nonprofit, because I realized that it's not just here in my community that people need help. It's also internationally. And I wanted to bridge that gap from America to Africa to whoever, to really show them that we're here to support them.
And what's the name of your foundation?
It's called Elsie's Foundation.
Okay. Any more tips before we let you go?
Oh, yes. I would honestly, and I have a little schedule, but the biggest thing too is nail trims. A lot of people sometimes forget that doing the nail trims or getting nail trims done help the pets walk a lot better. So be mindful of nail trims, paw pads, and just regular baths.
Anything that you would say that people do that they shouldn't do?
Yes.
It sounds like you have a
the
long
biggest
list.
thing I would say is don't, if you're not comfortable, if you see a mat on your dog, like a tangle, don't be so quick to cut it out, okay? There are tools that you can use to actually get the mat out depending on how tight it is. You can go to PetSmart, Petco, you can go to Premier Pet Supply Store, and you can get little shavers to shave those things out instead of cutting. So I always try to encourage pet parents, don't cut. Don't cut, don't cut, don't cut. And if you ever have questions or just curious about grooming, they can reach out to me. I don't mind answering questions. I don't mind sending tools, but just brush your pets, comb your pets, but do not try to cut out mats.
All right. That's a valuable lesson for me, because
Yes.
I have tried with my golden doodle a couple times, because he doesn't like when I brush him at times. And you feel like, oh man, am I doing something that's painful to him?
Yeah, and sometimes I think that what it is they like to act one way with the pet parents, and then with me, the groomer, they don't mind me brushing them. But I think if you continue like a regular routine with it and make it more of a treat type thing, where if, let me brush you a little bit, I'll give you a treat. If you have to bribe them, bribe them. But I think it's all a catch.
All right, I'm going to try to do the bribing. It works with kids too.
Yeah,
I
it
hear.
does.
All right. Not that I do it. All right. Let's check back in with Ashley. Ashley has her mic working now, I hope.
Hopefully, there we go.
Oh,
You
there
can
we go.
hear me.
Hi, Ashley. I can hear you.
Yay! Yay! I was thinking the same thing. Not a big difference between the fur children and the non-fur children as far as them listening to others and maybe not their own parents. But yeah, love all of that advice, because it's going to be another warm one for the pets that are outside today. Now, the concrete might not be quite as unsafe as it's been during that heat wave where we were well into the 90s, but we do have some 90-degree temperatures on the horizon. Before we talk about that, though, there will be the chance for some stronger storms. So maybe if you have one of those thunder jackets for your coat or for your dogs, it would be a good idea to get them out of the closet today, because they might need them this afternoon, as we will have these showers riding along this stationary boundary that has just parked itself over the southern tier of lower Michigan. So it's kind of like train tracks, and that's going to ride along there. We're getting some rain that's starting to push in our western suburbs. That's not anything severe, so we could get a passing shower through the morning. But after about 2 o'clock is when we have that chance of seeing some stronger storms fire off. And the better risk for that will be south of I-94, though all of us could see some kind of stormy activity throughout the afternoon. But damaging wind gusts and the potential for some flash flooding would be the primary threat as we head in the afternoon. Those clouds helping with temperatures, though, today. So it's not the most beautiful day outside, but at least we're not in the sweltering heat. 72 in the city, 78 in Ann Arbor, 70 in Pontiac, and low 80s in Monroe. A lot of us will top out in the low, maybe mid 80s, depending on how soon those storms come in after 2 o'clock. So we'll have a timeline of those storm chances for you coming up next.
All right. Appreciate it, Ashley. The ceasefire between Israel and Iran is back on for now. A live look at Israel right now, how the conflict is affecting global oil prices. Getting a live look at the board right now, stocks rallied yesterday on optimism over the ceasefire in the Middle East. The Dow jumped 507 points. The Nasdaq was up 281, and the S&P 500 gained 67 points. In the meantime, President Trump is spending his first full day at the NATO summit with global leaders in the Netherlands as his fragile ceasefire between Israel and Iran is holding. Many of the topics discussed, including the U.S. strike on Iran's nuclear facilities, the U.S.'s commitment to NATO, the Israel-Gaza conflict, Russia, Ukraine, and other global issues. The president touting a win on the international stage, but just how big is that win?
We had a tremendous victory, a tremendous hit, and because of that, I don't think they would have been down there because they knew we were coming. When they know we're coming, they're not going to be down in that, 30 stories underground. So, no, I think it was just a tremendous victory for everybody, including Iran. Look, they've got a country, and they've got oil, and they're very smart people, and they can come back. Israel got hit very hard, especially the last couple of days. Israel was hit really hard. Those ballistic missiles, boy, they took out a lot of buildings. And they've been great. Bibi Netanyahu should be very proud of himself. And they've really been great.
Getting a live look at Israel right now, the ceasefire deal between Israel and Iran appears to be holding, although both sides are accusing the other of violating the deal hours after making it. Meanwhile, an early report from the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency is putting into question how effective the U.S. airstrikes on Iranian nuclear sites were. Trump administration officials, however, are calling the results of the report wrong. Vice President J.D. Vance praised President Trump yesterday at a Republican Party dinner in Lima, Ohio for, quote, destroying Iran's nuclear program. Take a listen.
For 60 days, he negotiated aggressively to encourage that Iranian regime to give up those weapons peacefully. And by the way, he was more than willing to accept a peaceful settlement to that problem. But again, this comes back to instincts. When the president realized that there was not going to be a peaceful settlement to that problem, he sent B-2 bombers and dropped 12 30,000-pound bombs on the worst facility and destroyed that program.
Meanwhile, in Iran, Iranians at a pro-government rally Tuesday told CNN a ceasefire is not enough, and Iran's missile barrage toward U.S. military bases in Qatar was to them a show of military strength.
The ceasefire has not been something good or profitable for us, he says, because we should have finished the story. We should have totally wiped out Israel. We will crush their might, he says. We'll throw a punch into the mouths of the United States and the Zionists. Our opinion is always peace, she says. Now it depends on them how they behave.
While people across Israel are heading back to work and school as air raid alerts have now fallen silent, more Israel evacuees landed in Tampa, Florida last night. It is part of a continued effort by the state and a rescue group to bring citizens home from the conflict in the Middle East. According to Governor Ron DeSantis, more than 300 people have been evacuated from Israel through the partnership between the Florida Department of Emergency Management. Organizers say they have received over 7,000 requests for evacuation assistance. And we're seeing some interesting shifts in oil prices, with prices now potentially cheaper than it was before the Iran-Israel conflict. Brent crude, the global oil benchmark, fell 6.1% to $67.14 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude, the U.S. oil benchmark, fell even lower by 6% to $64.37 a barrel. Experts say both prices hadn't been that low even before the conflict. After all that, President Trump is also pushing on Republican holdouts to pass his sweeping agenda within days. Trump had previously said he wanted the bill on his desk by July 4th. However, experts say the Senate is planning a critical vote to begin debate as soon as Thursday. Trump is also heaping pressure on Congress in a social media post Tuesday. He said members should lock themselves in a room if they have to in order to get the deal done. When we're back, we're taking a closer look at the choices you have for a category in our Vote for the Best. And this time we're highlighting some tasty treats. Have you picked out your favorites in our Vote for the Best categories? We revealed the finalists earlier this week, and voting is now open. What is the best bakery in Metro Detroit? The finalists are Clementine's Pastries in Mount Clemens, East Detroit Bakery and Deli in East Point, Heritage Bakery in Livonia, Joseph's European Pastry Shop in Grosse Pointe Woods, Livonia Italian Bakery and Cafe, Menino's Bakery in Sterling Heights, Milford Baking Company, Canal in downtown Detroit, Villa Bakery in Garden City, and Vito's Bakery. You can vote until July 21st. Ashley, another forewarned weather alert day?
No.
Oh.
No, luckily.
My bad.
It's okay. Well, you saw
I
the
just
alert thing.
read that there.
It's okay.
Hey,
it's
the
okay.
producer set me up for failure.
Hey, no,
Brecken.
when you are in an alert Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you're like, I mean, what's another day, right? We do have a chance for some stronger storms, so I don't want to downplay that, but a marginal risk, and so really not enough for us to be issuing an alert today. But as far as the alert for the heat, well, we lifted that yesterday evening just because we're not going to be going into the 90s today. We have some cooler air building in, but even the cooler air is still on the warm side. So we have the humidity lingering. That's going to also create some instability. We've had some showers come off of Lake Michigan, riding along what is a frontal boundary just right along southeastern Michigan there. And it's weakening as it's pushing to the east. So you might get a passing shower, nothing severe as of right now. However, we do have a chance for some of that severe weather later on this afternoon. And that'll mainly be along and south of I-94, a little more impactful for Monroe and Lenawee counties, though I'm not going to rule out some of that kind of brushing along Washtenaw County. And the wind gusts will be the primary threat, much like yesterday, where you see those straight line winds, kind of a downburst of wind around 60 miles per hour, and then some heavy downpours as well that could lead to some flash flooding. So that's what's on tap today. Even if we're not under that marginal risk, the areas north of I-94, you still could see some stronger storms develop. But the difference will be the temperatures. So we are about 10 to 20 degrees cooler along and north of about M59 and 5 to 10 degrees cooler across the metro area. So that puts us in the 70s as the closer you get to Detroit Metro Airport. We are in the 80s down in Monroe and Adrian, and 60s up towards Port Huron. But today we'll trend about 10 degrees cooler than yesterday. So we hit 95 yesterday at Metro Airport, forecasting 84. And that might even be on the higher end, probably some more low 80s on the board there, and then upper 70s the farther north you go. Chances for storms begin to develop around 2 o'clock onward, and we will have those chances become a bit more widespread, I would say, around 3 o'clock or so. So here's 2 o'clock coming in from the west by 3:30. Now it's a little bit more robust, and that's why I said I'm not going to rule that even out in Washtenaw County, even though the SPC doesn't have that marginal risk up into Washtenaw County. But some of that heavier rain will persist around 5, 6 o'clock in our southern communities, and then that's out of here. And then we just have these couple of like isolated kind of popcorn showers going into Thursday, and that will probably be a little heavier into the peak heat of the day once again. And Friday will be a very similar setup. We start the day a bit drier, and then in the afternoon you might have a few more storms firing off. I want you to think Florida. It's going to be like Florida-like weather where you get those showers and storms in the afternoon and then they're out of here. But Saturday and Sunday trending drier, so if you do have outdoor plans, that's good news. And Monday, we'll have another chance for some storms. The only thing that's not changing, unfortunately, that muggy meter, tropical all the way through the weekend. So the humidity's sticking around, but the temperature's fluctuating a little bit. So mid 80s potentially today, probably more low 80s on the board, and then we will be in the mid 80s tomorrow and 90 come Friday and again on Sunday.
Just think about those snowbirds who go down to Florida during the wintertime and come back here because it's not as muggy and as humid as it.
They brought it all back with them. We'll blame them.
Exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, they're trying to get a break from that down there, and then they end up getting a taste of it here. What so many people don't think about, I mean, we're surrounded by the Great Lakes, so you think, oh, the Midwest isn't as humid as Florida. Well, we have all that moisture surrounding us, so really Michigan does have pretty humid summers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that. I didn't know it was similar to Florida, but now I know.
Yes.
Thanks for the information, Ashley. Appreciate it. Live in the D is just over an hour away. When we're back, we're talking with Kim and Tati to give us a breakdown of everything happening in today's show. You send them and we show them. That's how it works for our My Picks of the day. This one, we're going to look at it in just a second, is from Linda. You may remember, I'm not Linda. You may remember we had some pretty rough storms across Metro Detroit yesterday. Linda took a picture of the aftermath of those storms, leaving her table and umbrella. There they are. Wow. Huh. What's that up there?
Mary Poppins.
Umbrella on her roof. She says her neighbor was able to help her get it down. Wow. We have so much more coming up throughout the day here on Local 4. Our friends from Live in the D are here to show us what's ahead.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
I can't get over that table on that roof. I know.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's an umbrella is like with the wind underneath it will just fly up like that.
Insane. But we've got a packed show on Live in the D today. We're going to be talking about Burger Bash, something that everyone can get be a part of and participate in.
Exactly. So Tati's going to be trying out the Burger Bash.
Yep.
I'm also going to be speaking to a celebrity chef on the show. Very excited. They have a new show coming out. So I'm going to keep it a secret.
Keep it a secret.
Okay, keep it
a secret. It's going to be interesting.
Yes.
And of course, we've got Pop Talk and all of the other fun stuff happening in and around Detroit. We might maybe talk about some other interesting things that are coming up on Friday that we're keeping our fingers crossed for. So we'll see if we're allowed to chat about that.
Yes.
So yeah, we have a packed show as always. We've got a musical performance. Food on food.
I'm really excited about this musical performance, by the way, because this is a person who's performed on Jimmy Fallon.
Yep.
Performed with Dua Lipa. Just to say a few names.
Yes.
So.
And has ties to Metro Detroit. Will is like, what are you people doing on that show?
I know.
I mean, I'm trying to figure out who it is.
You have to tune in to Live in the D at 11 a.m. on Local 4 to find out.
And I always ask, what type of food are you going to have? And so, because it usually migrates to the break room afterwards.
Burgers. At some point, it's all about the burgers.
Do you like a burger?
I like a good burger.
What's your favorite burger around here?
There is a place near my house called Ettore.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was called Eatery.
No.
Did I say it wrong?
I know the owner. I'm friends with the owner.
Ettore.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
I was calling it Eatery too. I'm not even gonna lie. I was like, get it like Italy.
That's what I thought. Yeah, exactly.
Listen, I hope I'm not wrong.
Ettore burger. All right, we're gonna try that.
Sometimes.
But you're gonna have to keep that in mind for the Burger Bash.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, thank you. We look forward to Live in the D, and thank you for joining us on Local 4 Live. More news and weather ahead here on Local 4 Plus. And as always, clickondetroit.com. Have a good rest of your day.